everyone, it's me, Canadensis. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I post new doll-related videos almost every single day, and today's video is going to be the second in my video essay series about the history of My Little Pony, one of my favorite toy media franchises, if you couldn't tell. The first video in the series was about My Little Ponies that weren't actually ponies, and today's is going to be about how wild and weird the first generation of My Little Pony was, as you can see here. My Little Pony is a franchise that feels ever present in the modern day. This year is actually the 40th anniversary of the brand, and because of this, anyone under the age of 50 was either born into a post-My Little Pony society or was young when it was introduced. My Little Pony was an instant smash hit at its inception and continued to have high highs and low lows throughout its 40-year history. The brand is currently on its 5th generation and has produced successful spin-off brands and inspired many other toy lines both in-house at Hasbro and beyond. My Little Pony was a pioneer in the mass-market media-driven toy space, especially for the girls side of the market. Note, this is an industry term. I don't believe anything should be gendered. Their contributions and influence cannot be overstated. I think that the impact of the first generation of My Little Pony is surprisingly underappreciated and unknown. If you were to ask a fan of one of the newer My Little Pony generations, they would likely tell you that they believe Generation 1 is boring and drab, and this could not be further from the truth. So I wanted to make this video to highlight how unique and special the first generation of My Little Pony truly was and continues to be, even 40 years later. Generation 1 of My Little Pony was a hit in a way that I don't think anyone could have anticipated. The uniqueness of the concept of a horse toy that functions more as a doll and less as a steed for your other toys was a huge risk, but it paid off explosively well. It seems that the designers had endless ideas of how far they could push the concept of a horse doll, from familiar concepts like carousel horses or pretty obvious ones like princesses to the most far removed from a horse you can get, like ponies that aren't actually ponies or mermaid ponies. I also would like to disclaim that there were many exclusive ponies to other countries, and I know very little about them comparatively, so we'll be going over the US release ponies in this video. We will also only be focusing on the main toy line, leaving out spin-offs and merchandise. So join me as we walk through the first 10 years of My Little Pony, dubbed Generation 1 by the fans, by year, and pointing out the most interesting and notable concepts from each year. This list is by no means exhaustive, and I will link resources where you can find full lists of every pony released, which I referenced for this video, and also love perusing 10 years ago when I first found them. My Generation 1 My Little Pony knowledge mainly comes from years of reading Ponyland Press and My Little Wiki. Another great resource is Strawberry Reef, focused on the 3rd generation, but also contains a great Generation 1 guide as well. Hey guys! I've come from the future to let you guys know how Hasbro is celebrating the 40th anniversary of My Little Pony. So, another company, Basic Fun, has been making My Little Pony products for a few years now, and this year they are in charge of doing the 40th anniversary celebration, and this video was made in part with Basic Fun, who sent me a package of their new 40th anniversary product line to review for you guys. So I actually don't have all of it here. There's a lot more, but I'm going to share with you what is in this box, and then if you stay tuned to my channel, you can see me unbox and review all of these things, but let's just see what's in the box. Alrighty, so we have, and there will be a full review of this on my channel again, the Rescue at Midnight Castle 1983 Collector's Edition set. Alright, this is the best part. Basic Fun normally does reproductions, and sometimes they'll do different poses or different art styles, but it's mostly pretty faithful to the original toy lines that they're reproducing. But these are based on ponies that never came out but were seen in catalogs during Generation 1. It's the coolest thing ever. Oh my god. So inside we have the Celestial ponies. So this image was seen in like a catalog or something back when My Little Pony was about to end, but the ponies never came out, and Basic Fun recreated them. And all of these are up for order on Amazon if you guys are interested in them. I will not earn from any Amazon purchases that are made. I merely received this package for the purposes of review, and I thought it would be cool to throw them into this video. So now let's walk through the history of My Little Pony. Alright, I've talked a big game, so I want you guys to bear in mind that as we travel back in time to the beginning of My Little Pony, these were the first thing like this to ever exist. So please understand that they're gonna start off pretty plain by today's standards, but back then they were super interesting and novel. So during the first year of My Little Pony, we really only featured colorful horses all in one pose with pretty repetitive symbols and overall neutral colors. I don't think anyone could have anticipated, judging from these, what the designers had in store for these ponies in the coming years, such as the second year of My Little Pony, in which the brand mostly stuck to the pretty standard fare for a brand of horse toys. They took existing concepts like regular horses, dubbed earth ponies, pegasi, and unicorns, and just made them colorful. The strangest thing they did, I guess, technically comes from an existing horse concept. the seahorse. So they used those, except they made these monstrous, bizarre things called sea ponies, which have true horse heads, manes, ears, and all, on a stylized seahorse body. And listen, I love these and will defend them with my life. If you can believe it, year 2 is the most tame year by far, other than the first, of course, and even strange ideas like sea ponies can be considered normal for Generation 1 of My Little Pony. Let's move on to year 3. Year 3 is one where I think they really gain their footing. They still play it relatively safe, but a lot of really important concepts that continue to come up were actually introduced in year 3. I actually didn't realize this until I was making this video, but baby ponies, a pretty obvious concept I think, were not introduced until year 3. The baby ponies and baby sea ponies first appear in year 3 and will continue to expand into later years. I really love the way that Generation 1 would really flesh out every concept. They would usually drop at least 2 lines of each concept they would introduce, which makes them really fun to collect, and I imagine made them really fun to see on store shelves. Megan, a human girl doll, was also introduced in year 3 as well. A surprising addition considering the entire initial concept was that the horses are the dolls, but since the beginning they were marketed with horse tack like saddles, inexplicably, so I guess this thematically works. Let's move on to year 4, which is when we really start to see concepts go wild with the introduction of twinkle-eyed ponies and flutter ponies. Twinkle-eyed ponies are a cool toy and concept. It's a pony with gem eyes. Pretty and fun. But for some reason, they decided they should try to explain why they have gem eyes, and this produced some of the most horrifying lore in the entire franchise through the Applejack's Amazing Adventure comic, explaining that a group of ponies had been enslaved to work in jewel mines by an evil wizard that Applejack ends up makes fall to the end of the earth. Unfortunately, because of their time in the mine, the ponies learn that as they try to leave, they no longer have eyesight that works on the surface. But then the crystals from the wizard's throne get lodged into their eyes, and that allows them to see daylight. On a lighter note, the flutter ponies are fairy ponies. They're canonically isolationist for whatever reason. Anyway, we also get some new gimmicks on existing ponies, like flocked bodies, and pearly bodies, and blinking eyes. Moving on to year 5, 1986 is the year of My Little Pony, the theatrical film. This is one of the most unhinged pieces of children's media ever produced. I think Something Tame could definitely have featured all the different pony toys that existed in the toy line so far, but they went the absolute strangest direction possible, and it's such an incredibly beautiful disaster. It is so difficult to explain the universe that Generation 1 is set in because there's so many moving parts and disbeliefs you need to suspend. Give it a watch. It's freely available on YouTube. I'll link it in the description. I will say it is definitely a product of its time. The basic premise is that the My Little Ponies are about to have a catastrophic flood of some living slime overtake their society, and they are essentially powerless to stop it, unless they enlist the help of the flutter ponies, whose utter flutter is the only thing that can kill the smooths. Also, there's some characters called Grundles featured prominently, not sure why. Anyway, let's get back to the toy line. Let's ignore all that. It seems year 5 was one of the biggest years for the toy line and the franchise in general up to this point, which makes sense considering it was the year of the big theatrical film. Some toys were related to the movie or other TV specials, but they mostly just continued operations as usual, with revisiting old concepts and introducing new concepts. Another really novel and weird concept is boy ponies, which you may have noticed have not existed until now. In the 5th year of My Little Pony, we see the Big Brother ponies. They're Clydesdale horses, which I guess was reserved for males in this universe. Twice as fancy ponies are introduced as well, taking the concept of the butt symbol and spreading it all over the body. I was surprised this wasn't an earlier concept, actually, and the Bush Woolies from the movie also appear in the toy line as accessories for the princess ponies, which are tinsel-haired ponies with metallic 3D symbols. They also expand upon the concept of a baby with lines like the first tooth baby ponies, which the name says it all, but I think it also doesn't say enough. I will say that these were likely a hit with young kids, which is definitely their target audience, of course. And I really like the newborn twins, which were even younger baby ponies that came in twin sets, which were so cute. This year also introduces the Pony Friends, which I made an entire separate video essay about, which are My Little Pony style animals that aren't just horses, except the zebra, I guess. The first lineup featured more tame animals, a zebra, giraffe, camel, and lion, all of whom at least have a mane or a tail like a pony. Stay tuned for the next era of My Little Pony Friends because they get a lot stranger. Year 6 is a year that relies mainly on gimmicks and doesn't really introduce any new huge concepts for different types of ponies, but the gimmicks introduced this year I think were really exciting, and because of that I consider this to be one of the more exciting years for My Little Pony in general, and I don't just mean Generation 1, I mean in general. We have the Sunday Best ponies, which were the first scented My Little Ponies, a surprisingly uncommon concept in the My Little Pony franchise. During the same year, we also had another set of scented ponies, the Sweet Berry ponies. One of my favorite concepts was introduced in this year, the Brush and Grow ponies. Though I prefer the later iterations, which we'll discuss later, These ponies had longer hair that was retractable, and you could grow it by pulling on it, and then wind it by cracking their heads sideways. Anyway. Then we have the Happy Tails ponies, which had a gimmick that made their tails swish around when the body was squeezed, I guess in case any flies are bothering them. We also had the Magic Message ponies, which unfortunately didn't seem to last until the modern day, so I can't show you, but they had two symbols, one on top of the other, and the heat of your finger could erase one to show the other, like a mood ring. Then we have the Peekaboo Baby ponies, which are confusingly named because the gimmick has absolutely nothing to do with their faces and eyes. They just had ball-jointed heads. Fun though. For new concepts, we have one of my all-time favorite toy lines ever, the Summer Wing ponies. They're really just another interpretation of a fairy pony, but they're perfect to me. Butterfly wing ponies, it's so cute. We also have the expansion of the Pony Friends line, which I unfortunately do not have any representations of in my collection. They're incredible. We have Cute Saurus, a sauropod dinosaur, a moose, a llama, and an elephant. And that's it for year 6. So moving into year 7, it's a fairly similar year to year 6 in that they mainly introduced new gimmicks on existing pony concepts. The important new types of ponies were the Sweetheart Sister ponies, which are the skinny teenage sisters of the My Little Ponies. The merry-go-round ponies and the sparkle ponies, oh, and the loving family ponies, of course. Sweetheart Sister ponies are so strange and out of left field, and they raise so many questions, but I'm just gonna leave all of that alone and move on to the absolutely precious merry-go-round ponies. These were inspired by carousel horses with sculpted raised details on their backs and heads. I wish that these had been expanded upon further because I think these are so cool. Can you imagine a playset? The sparkle ponies, to my knowledge, don't have any horrific backstory like the twinkle-eyed ponies, thank goodness, but they're translucent and they have glitter inside. I think that these are a really cool idea. Lastly, for what I consider to be the notable new concepts for year 7, we have the families. All of the family member types had been released separately, but seeing them packaged together and all matching was a really cool selling point, and it's so cute. Each set came with a mommy, daddy, and a baby pony. Alright, now for the derivative concepts and gimmicks. There are some really interesting concepts introduced in year 7. My favorite new one is the Perfume Puff pony. I desperately wish I had one to show you, but unfortunately they've evaded me for all this time. These ponies were scented and had a unique hair fiber that made their hair like a puff, as their name suggests. These are super cool, and I wish more ponies experimented with hair types like this. There's less interesting concepts like the candy cane ponies, which were also scented, but this time it had a sweets theme. Or the Fancy Pants baby ponies, which are ponies with printed diapers. The former baby ponies actually came with separate fabric diapers generally, so I don't know. Two of my favorite concepts introduced in year 6 are brought back in year 7. The Summer Wing ponies becoming the Windy Wing ponies, which are the same thing, just with another name. Unfortunately, I don't have any, but look at Moon Jumper. Oh my god, she's amazing. And the Brush and Grow ponies evolved into the Princess Brush and Grow ponies. The Princess Brush and Grows have the same gimmick as before, but now they have gems on their heads. I don't even know what that's supposed to be, but I love it. The Happy Tail pony concept was expanded upon and perfected in year 7 with the Dance and Prance ponies. They really dance. The knob in their neck causes their tail to violently spin in circles, which, given proper conditions, causes the ponies to dance, or at least move around on a flat surface. But this is insanely satisfying to watch, and I enjoy it so much. Year 7 was an absolute onslaught of pony releases, and as we move into year 8, you'll notice that there's a lot less ponies released this year. I think maybe sales must have not been very good in year 7, I'm not sure. But regardless, new gimmicks were introduced with ponies like the Drinkin' Wet Baby ponies and the Sweet Steps Ballerina ponies. The Drinkin' Wet Baby ponies have a function that their name implies. I don't have any to share, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Next, we have the Sweet Steps Ballerina ponies, which were articulated, which is fun. I'm not the biggest fan of the permanent sculpted on leotards, though. We also have more fun concepts on pony types we've already dealt with before, like the Rainbow Curl ponies, which are just ponies with ringlets in their hair, and the Tropical ponies, which have eyeshadow and bright colors. Baby versions of the Sparkle ponies were also introduced, and the Sweetheart Sisters get 2 new series. Moving into year 9, it's another year that has a lot less going on, but it does introduce an all-time favorite series of mine, the Rock and Beat ponies, which are just so very 80s. Despite releasing in 1990, they had crimped hair in super fun bright colors and arcade carpet-esque geometric designs. Rooted eyelashes are also introduced with the princess ponies, but the execution is incredibly questionable. Somewhat similar to the merry-go-round ponies, we have the Secret Surprise ponies, which acted as little trinket boxes. I imagine these were made to compete with Keepers, a brand of trinket box animal dolls that came out around the same time by Tonka. And in an effort to make an even cuter and smaller baby pony, we have the teeny tiny baby ponies. And it seemed like they were a hit as well, just like the ones in the past. Similar to Sweet Steps Ballerina ponies, year 9 introduces the baby ballerina ponies with the same gimmick. They function the same as the Sweet Steps with 5 points of articulation. These are very fun, but I'm still bothered by the permanent leotard. Lastly, for new concepts, we have the Precious Pocket ponies, which had pockets for symbols. In addition to the pockets, the ponies had little strings with something related to the pocket to put in it. Some of these concepts were incredible, like a fishbowl pocket with a fish to put in it. We move into year 10, which is the end of the first generation of My Little Pony in the US. But surprisingly, it still introduces novel concepts and gimmicks. The biggest new thing introduced was the Fancy Mermaid Pony series, which are baby ponies with mermaid tails. There were also 2 ponies that could talk, saying preset phrases. And I think these were pretty popular. I find them a lot secondhand. There were also the Flower Fantasy and Color Swirl ponies that had designs all over their bodies. The strangest, I think, were the Soda Sippin' ponies, which were ponies with holes in their faces for oversized straws attached to oversized cups that made it look like the ponies were actively drinking soda. I'm not sure why they made these, but they're cool, I guess. I think unfortunately for Hasbro, this is the year they debut My Little Pony Tales, which is a strange TV series depicting My Little Ponies that are just in a regular high school. And this was introduced in 1992, but the characters were never released in toy form in the US, which is such a shame, because I would love to have them. They did see releases in other countries, though. Talking about ponytails means that we have expanded past year 10, which is the end of My Little Pony in the US, and I feel that Generation 1 of My Little Pony is pretty popular with its core fan base, which is predominantly those who were around when they were current, but that's about it. There's some younger collectors like myself who learned of My Little Pony through newer gens, in my case Generation 3, and started looking back and appreciating the older ones, but surprisingly there's very few. I'm rarely one to say that the original is better because generally that's just not true, Pokemon fans being the most notorious example of making this audacious claim. However, I feel that after Generation 1, My Little Pony unfortunately became exponentially more boring. I feel that Generation 4 had the most potential to live up to the first generation's magic, especially because Lauren Faust, the creator, actually originally conceptualized it with G1 characters as the main 6, but had to change most of them due to copyright. And it seems that Generation 5 is falling into the same trap of not expanding much outside of just your standard magical horse toy. Generation 1 proved that My Little Pony can be so much more than just colorful horses, and it can be so much more fun. And if you're interested in toys or toy history, make sure to check out my channel. I review new toys and old toys, attend press events about toys, and make videos just like this one. This format is almost entirely new for me, so I'd really love to know what you think. It's a very daunting format for me as I'm not normally the type to do scripted videos, and this was on a teleprompter, but I had fun regardless. And I have another video about My Little Pony history, as I mentioned earlier, discussing the weird toys that were meant to be like My Little Pony but weren't actually horses. If you're interested, I will link it below. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!